Let me see. There we go. Oh yeah, we're live on YouTube.
Oh, sweet.
Okay, let me send a link to the group chat so you guys can share if you want. Um, Hopefully my channel doesn't start freaking out. Sorry, this is super unprofessional because we're live, but like I just need to figure this out. So YouTube's been giving us a little technical difficulty, so stand by.
Hello to our dozens
Also,
of listeners. Dozen
Yeah,
listeners.
dozens.
dozens.
Dozens of us. Dozens.
It's an aspirational dozens.
Yeah. Okay, here we go. Sending it to the group chat.
All right.
Sending it to my wife.
Yeah, I always send it to my family group chat and then post it on Instagram.
There we go. What is going on? All right. And you know what's nice is we could just like cut out this front part. That's the beauty of live and nobody's watching is that we can do whatever the hell we want.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
That's life, boys. That's life. All right. Let's fire up the music. Happy Hall of Fame Day, everybody. It's another edition of Everyone Hates Us, a podcast dedicated to the art of winning and the beautiful sport of baseball. It's a lot of baseball today, so baseball fans, be excited. As we mentioned, I forget myself. I'm Yuno Lee, joined by my gracious co-hosts, Dan Grievitz and Colin Murphy. Thanks for joining us, fellas. And we have a doozy of a show for you today. We're going to get into the Hall of Fame ballot and the shakeout and the crazy movement that happened as a result of the private votes finally being not made public, but like being counted. So this was a definitely an interesting situation. We're also going to talk about the Dodgers and free agency and everything that's happening on that side, including all the quote unquote money the Dodgers have been spending. Oh no. And we're going to get into obviously matchups we're looking forward to and a tribute to Bob Uecker. It's all here, baby. But let's kick it off with the big news item. We actually started today at 3:30 as a result of the Hall of Fame, vote being out. So like the actual Hall of Fame class being introduced. So Murph, you're our resident Hall of Fame expert. And we've got to work on the Caltech Hall of Fame. We got to figure out Caltech Hall
Yeah.
of Fame.
No, not overall Hall of Fame expert, but yeah, the baseball one. Obviously this is an exciting day. Everything gets released. 3 new members join the Hall of Fame. It's the 3 that I think from the jump we all assumed were going to get in. Ichiro gets in, not unanimously. We found out one voter held him off. So similar to Jeter, he
about baseball.
he becomes, I believe the second player to fall 1 vote short of matching Mo and being the first position player to be unanimous. But joining him in there is CC Sabathia and Billy Wagner in his last year on the ballot managed to get in. I know everyone's really excited about that. Always nice to not see someone fall a couple of votes short at the very end there. He was so close last year, but he ended up making it pretty comfortably at 82.5%. So not much drama there. The private voters kind of held the number for those top 3, and no real surprises, and they all 3 got in with pretty comfortably. I don't know. Short of that, though, I think the big thing that everyone was kind of, if you're following the tracker heading into today, was Carlos Beltran going to make this a class of 4? He ended up just falling just short, suffered a 12% drop with the last drop of ballots. So he ends up ending at 70.3%. Not a huge surprise. He frequently has struggled more on the private and the last release ballots. and that came through again this time through. But I mean, Carlos Beltran not getting in the Hall of Fame this year. Very weak incoming class with potentially only Cole Hamels, really, as an interesting guy. Of the 15 guys returning on the ballot and the new ones, very likely Beltran gets in and might even get in alone. I think he maybe has one other person that's going to push him to getting in, and that's the guy who finished 5th on this ballot, Andrew Jones, who didn't suffer much of a drop, about 3-4%. He's been kind of running a steady 3 to 4% increase the last couple of years. Typically, you would say someone to Andrew Jones, this is his 8th year. He only has 2 ballots left. You'd think he'd have enough to push him across the line. He does have the off the field DV arrests, and that kind of, it does make you wonder if there's a hard line for him where that he can't just cap and get past this. We've seen this before with the steroid guys, even on this ballot. A-Rod, Manny Ramirez, these are 2 guys who have been on for a while, and Manny, his last 3 ballots, 33%, 32.5%, 34%. A-Rod, 35.7, 34.8, 37. Like, no, not really moving anywhere. There's a hard cap here. We saw this with Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and it just seems like that's kind of just the line. Steroid guys are just not really getting in. Although the second highest gain this year was Andy Pettitte, who got a lot of gains on the ballot, jumped doubled his vote total, went from 13.5 to 28%. But I don't think anyone should really read into that. Like, Pettitte's going to have this late career surge. I think what we saw here was a CC Sabathia like windfall, where he was a rising tide lifting a lot of the starting pitching boats. And, first ballot guy, Felix, Hernandez comfortably in at over 20%. I think when you have Pettitte compared to a lot of these other guys, I think it ended up with Pettitte getting a lot more support than he had gotten on previous ballots. But he only has 3 ballots left. It's tough to see him making up the 50% that he still needs to get across that finish line. And yeah, so I think that kind of hits the big ones. The other big guy who suffered on the private reveal was Chase Utley, who dropped even more than Carlos Beltran did. He was over 50% heading in, dropped underneath 40.
Damn.
So yeah, massive loss there. I think that kind of turned everyone's thought of, could Utley potentially sneak in next year, to that's almost certainly not happening. That would be an unprecedented voter gain. But Utley still 2 years in, around 38, 39%. That's not too bad. I know you guys are little Utley fans, so that's something to be encouraged of at least a little bit. But 2026 is not happening for Chase Utley. I feel confident in saying that there are only 3 guys who have a chance at making it next year. It's going to be Carlos Beltran, Andrew Jones, and/or Cole Hamels. And, we'll see how the voters treat Hamels now that we've seen kind of how they handle Felix and CC, and Hamels has his own interesting case there.
Wait, so Murph, you're saying that Felix definitely isn't getting in next year?
No.
Okay. What was
his percentage? He's at 20.6.
Sheesh.
So I think that was better than I think I was expecting. I mean, I've said from the start, Felix just needs to survive to 2030. I think he's guaranteed that he's going to survive that long. And I think these next couple of votes will be good for him, though, because Cole Hamels comes up and there are a couple other guys. All of a sudden, you're going to be looking at these pitchers who Felix's lack of longevity, it's not going to look too shabby compared to. And I think you're going to see a lot of love for Felix on some of these later ballots. But I do wonder if he's going to just kind of plateau a little bit. I expect a gain. A lot of people said that he'd be next on their list if they weren't max capped at 10. But that max cap is dwindling fast for everybody, as we lost 3 people off the ballot this year. Manny Ramirez is going to be on his final ballot next year with no one coming on. So the next 2 ballots, no real slam dunk Hall of Famers. Probably the best case is Posey, 2027, which I think, similar to how I felt that Felix needs to survive. Brian McCann, Russell Martin, I feel like they really wish they could have survived until Posey got on the ballot. I think there could have been a little catcher spoon with him. Them falling off this first year, Fangraphs in shambles. They tried hard to push for that. Honestly, analytic baseball in general had a rough day of it. Ben Zobrist got 0 votes. Foolish Baseball made this great video. You should check it out. Shining detail. Ben Zobrist as the ultimate utility man, and I believe they claimed he's the best utility man of all time, and that he deserved to make the Hall for that. No voters bought that, and Zobrist joined Fernando Rodney and Hanley Ramirez as getting zero. The only guys who got 0 votes on this ballot, unfortunately.
Oh dang, Hanley got 0. That sucks.
You know,
Yeah.
if you fielded that play clean, maybe you would have got one. You know what I'm saying?
I was actually a little surprised Fernando Rodney didn't get any, just because it felt like a reliever love ballot, you know, with Wagner getting in. K-Rod gained a good amount of votes on this one. Rodney has his career save numbers aren't bad. Everything else about his candidacy is poor, but I thought that would earn him, you know, maybe a vote or two. But no, he wasn't able to do that. Cargo ended up being the guy with the least amount of votes. He only was able to pull 2. Adam Jones, Curtis Granderson, Troy Tulowitzki, they joined Russell Martin and Brian McCann as off the ballot. But Ian Kinsler, but saved by literally 1 vote on the ballot, the private ballots for the 2nd straight year, bail out Torii Hunter, and he will make his 6th ballot. Torii Hunter just escaping by the skin of his teeth, hit the bare minimum. So congrats, Torii.
You love to see it. Congratulations, Torii. I mean, just sticking around on the ballot, I think is a good enough, like, just tribute to, because let's be real, he's not going to get to 75%. Really, that would be crazy.
No.
But just sticking around on the ballot a little bit is a testament to, like, yeah, no, we appreciate what you did, you know, and you're a big part of a lot of the kids' lives. That's what I like to think about. It's like, damn, Torii Hunter, like defense, center field, all that, like, he balled out. You know, you got to give respect. So he had wins for years. All right, I don't need to reiterate this point. Okay, I don't need to drive home more like Torii Hunter love, but shout out Torii Hunter, and so happy for you, and hope you're enjoying a sweet lemonade in retirement and just chilling, kicking back.
And with that, though, I will say there are some people I think have no chance of getting in after this ballot. Mark Burley, this was his 5th ballot. You know, if this was the chance for him to kind of get a windfall, CC, he raised up Pettit. Honestly, Burley's career numbers aren't too dissimilar for Pettit, except for Burley didn't take steroids. It's shocking how little love he had. Burley tapped out 11.4%. I honestly a little confused as to the difference that between him and Pettit here. Pettit at 28, over twice as much. Pettit does have a lot more playoffs, but I mean, Burley was on that White Sox team that broke the streak. You know, he's the only real player from that team that has a chance to make the Hall of Fame. I know Frank Thomas was technically on that team, but not really. I don't think he even was on the playoff roster. So I thought Burley was going to get more love this round, and that just never materialized. Similarly, K-Rod, I felt like this was his best chance with Wagner on the ballot to kind of get a surge. He didn't really get much of anything. He's just barely cleared 10%. Omar Vizquel fell down again, and I think similar to Andrew Jones, he does have the off the field stuff that I think is kind of got people forever against him. And the new voters that are more analytically inclined are not as impressed with his Gold Glove count, and they're actually more annoyed at his OPS plus. So I think all 3 of those guys are just officially done. David Wright, I wouldn't say he's done, but 8.1%, 2 ballots in's not really a great look. I think next year will be very telling for David Wright. Like, we'll need to see some significant gains with the ballot clearing up. Otherwise, we can write him off pretty quickly. Outside that, it's just Abreu and Pedroia, I think, are the only 2 interesting people on here. And Jimmy Rollins. Abreu, 19.5%, Rollins 18%, Pedroia at 12%. I think all 3 have kind of different cases there. One argument for Abreu that I was reading online that I liked is people are comparing not voting for Abreu as double punishing people for steroids, in the sense that, like, Abreu, his counting stats aren't that bad, but like a lot of his advanced stats are depressed because of the steroid era, and he, you know, is pretty clean. But it also means he has no accolades either, because he was competing against Barry Bonds for left field awards and stuff, and so he kind of got, you know, screwed over by the steroid guys. And then obviously none of the steroid guys were inducted. And so then if you're not putting Abreu in, then you're basically just saying no outfielders are getting in because the steroid guys took all the accolades and awards. You guys didn't want to vote them in. Okay, so you didn't want to vote the clean guys in either, like Bobby Abreu. Maybe we should be showing Abreu some more love and forgiving his lack of all-stars and, so silver sluggers and stuff. I thought that was an interesting argument. I don't know what your guys' thoughts are on that.
I mean, steroids notwithstanding, and the statistical, average or whatever notwithstanding, a 128 career OPS plus is nothing to sneeze at. That is a pretty solid career OPS plus, regardless. And yeah, his counting stats are, I mean, he had a 291 batting average. It's pretty damn good. He had a near 400 OBP. Okay, like for his career, it was 395. Pretty damn good, guys. This is a good player. And the fact that he stayed clean in that era, it should work for him. It should work for him. So I'm Murph, I'm of the mind, like, that argument does hold a lot of water with me because it is kind of comparative and because it is kind of relative to the performance. So, like, you can't really like put asterisks next to stats on Baseball Reference. You can't, it's like, you're not going to see that on there, right? So, or Fangraphs, there can't be like a, filter out steroid users function, right? Like, which would have been great. But, when you have these types of stats and, not saying he was ever like a 50 home run guy, but he gets on base. He gets on base a lot. Sorry, let me.
He walks a lot.
He gets on base a lot. Rocco, do I care if it's a walk or a hit? Pete?
You do not.
I do not.
Nearly 1,500 walks in his career, which is insane. That's the guy's got a great eye. That's what you want in a hitter. That's a pure hitter, and all those people want that. So. Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. He broke 300 total bases multiple times in his career, which is impressive. So that's, yeah, I mean, I think he should do it. I think he should be getting in, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's an interesting argument for sure because of the double punishing. I'm like, I would, if it were up to me, I would have A-Rod and Manny in the Hall of Fame, like, personally. But I understand the arguments against it, but they were, they were these huge figures in baseball for so long, and they were a very important part of the texture of baseball history. But yeah, I understand. It is an interesting argument that I hadn't thought about. Yeah, like I understand not letting them in, but does that shift the assessment of other players that weren't as appreciated in their time? I get it, but I don't know if I would consider Bobby Abreu a Hall of Famer, despite him being a really good hitter. Like, yeah.
What hurts my perception of Bobby is he played for the Dodgers and he stunk it up that season. I was so mad. I was like, this is not the Bobby Abreu I remember. This is ridiculous. Like, I want the real Bobby Abreu. Who is this?
It's like Barkley with the when he's playing pickup with the kids. You're not Charles Barkley. You're just a wannabe who looks like him.
I did just learn that Bobby Abreu's nickname was El Come Dulce, which is literally the eats sweets. So that does give him some points for me.
Or La Leche.
La Leche, the milk. Yeah.
The milk, which is a banging nickname. My God. I love this guy. I didn't love him on our team, but I love the guy. And he apparently loved LA because he spent the last 5 years of his career pretty much with us and the Angels. So yeah, Murph, that's a great point. Yeah, how many players are like that? Like, I still remember Todd Helton one season put up like a 462 on base percentage, and nobody cared because Bonds put up like a 620. It's just like,
I mean, he also
was great.
Helton also had Coors working against him, and felt like I feel like Rockies fans do have a lot of beef in that sense, in which case, like, everyone discounts everything their hitters do, and then no one credits anything their pitchers do. Because there was that one year, I mean, was it John Gray? He had like a 3.2 ERA, and for pitching a lot of games in Coors, like, that's actually really good. That should be in the side conversation easily, but he wasn't getting a lot of love because obviously, there are people with much lower ERAs and stuff, and it's just kind of, people aren't really able to, like, everyone just discounts everyone knows to discount the bats, but I think people don't always like think of the inverse. And I kind of think the Abreu argument is similar in the sense of, like, it's easy to discount one end, but then you have to remember, okay, so maybe we need a backfill as well. I'm more with you, Grievous, in the sense that, like, I don't think the steroid guys should be punished because it feels like trying to tell me something didn't exist Like Reggie Bush didn't win that Heisman. Like I
Oh,
know
look
it
at that.
happened.
Look at him winning us over. Look at that.
I was
Like-
already on this side.
Yeah.
Look at him trying to drag me into this. My protest
yeah.
is that if Barry Bonds isn't in, A-Rod and Manny shouldn't be in.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
but Bond should be in, and
Yeah, he
Clemens
should
should
be
be
in
in
first.
Yeah,
Just
of
like
course.
how like
yeah.
T.O. deserved to go in after Randy Moss because Randy Moss was clearly so much better than him. You know, like it's
I don't
just
know if that was clear when they were playing.
hey, let me have my fun, all right? I'm just trying to just need to take T.O. down a peg, okay? Like
I'm really looking forward to you getting last in the free agent. So
I'm
we can
not
get you in
getting
the
last
TO
in the free
jersey.
agency. There's no way unless
I
Unless-
like where things are breaking for me on
it's
that.
not
actually.
looking good. I will say I'm sweating the Alex Bregman a little bit, you know, like, but he's gonna come through for me. I know he will. You know? Get your money, Alex. Don't take no 1-year flyer. All right, they're tricking you. They're tricking you. Man, I am sweating it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Murph, so I want you to read
Yeah.
the leaves. Okay, we're gonna call this "Read the Leaves."
Read the leaves. Okay.
Read the leaves. All right. I want you to tell me who is this private voter. I want you to know, like, give me a generalization of who this private voter is. Like, what are their beliefs? What are their likes, dislikes? What's their favorite color, favorite flavor of ice cream? Who is this person? This mass, this unknown mass that shifted the ballot so massively towards the end here.
So I mean, I think there are a couple different ones in there. I think there's the curmudgeons, who put in like very few people, if anyone at all. I think there are the strategic voters who are likely to drop guys like Beltran and I would say Utley, Abreu, guys who are going to safely be on the ballot, but they want to like kind of make sure that they keep their other guys on. I assume these are the Carlos Gonzalez, Adam Jones voters, just to be clear here. You're just throwing some bones to some guys here.
Disrespect, man.
These are the type of guys I imagine that what's it called? They'd never give their, like, you're out in the group and people are suggesting places to go, and they never suggest anything, and they wait for an idea to get momentum, and they jump on that just to end the discussion. They're pragmatists. They're trying to keep everything going as quickly as possible. And these would be the strategic voters. This is also the only justification I can see for not voting for Ichiro. Basically, you just decide first, unanimous is a pointless concept. It's probably a nerd that's doing this one, and that once you're in, you're in, and I'd rather use that vote to keep Torrey Hunter on. So I think that's potentially kind of some of these guys, but I think a lot of them also typically are people who maybe are afraid of getting dumped on if they release their stuff public. So I think there's some cowards in there. People who
curmudgeons,
Yeah.
Adam Jones voters, damn.
Cowards, curmudgeons, and nerds. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good swath. But typically, I feel like these people don't like. I mean, it's no secret. The private and late voters, wherever, are statistically much more unlikely to vote to use up the whole ballot. They typically are much more selective voters, and we've even seen some of them where they'll vote for the obvious guys and then throw 2 votes for whatever team they covered. So is that wrong? I mean, I honestly,
Yes. Yes, that's really wrong. What the hell? That's like immoral.
I understand the frustration, but like, I guess if you only really thought there were 2 Hall of Famers on this ballot, like, we saw with some Ichiro and CC or Ichiro and Wagner ballots, if you decide you want to throw a vote to a guy who's like, that you were covering, like Troy Tulowitzki, and you write for the Denver Post, or I actually can't remember what the Denver paper is called at the moment, but you kind of just want to throw Tulo a bone. I mean, I don't really mind it per se. It's kind of when you have a bunch of them and you're kind of leaving guys off. I think that's when it kind of gets irritating. But if you like throwing a vote on Tulowitzki if you think there are 15 Hall of Famers, you don't think Tulowitzki's one, but you just want to throw one because he's your guy. I think you're kind of doing everyone a disservice. If you really only think there's 3 Hall of Famers and then you just want to throw a nod to someone that you don't expect to stay on, I don't really have too much of a problem with it. Like, objectively, your ballot's bad, but you're just, you're covering if you're covering the guy and you have a relationship and you kind of want to just tip your hat to him. I don't really have too much of an issue with that. I mean, we have Team Hall of Fames for a reason, and there's a reason why we poll so many people for the Hall of Fame is because you want to get like a variety of the opinions and stuff. And a couple people throw in some votes at some fan favorites. That's never really bothered me too much. Some people, especially, I was reading a lot of the Reddit threads. People were also mad about Vizquel and Rollins voters, and it's like, if they're not using the whole ballot, and they just want to throw one to one of their guys, I don't really see too much of an issue. Neither of those guys are getting in, so like, what's the harm?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Like, objectively, like if you look at that one ballot, it's a little silly to vote for a guy like Tulowitzki, but yeah, like if you covered the guy and you don't want him to get shut out, like, yeah, makes sense for sure.
We're nice people here at Everyone Hates Us, and I don't know why everyone hates us. We're so
we'll get to that.
I think the Dodger stroke fest that's going to come on the back half of this is going to more than improve, at least for you guys.
Well, before we get to the stroke fest, we got to go to the guy who stroked the mic for Major League Baseball.
Nice.
Not where I thought you were going with that.
Try, guys. Just sell the bit. No, this is one of the most iconic voices in baseball. I would argue it's Vince Scully, and then him. It's like, I think it's pretty cut and dry. You got your 1-2, and Milwaukee's beloved by the team and by the people of Wisconsin. Bob Uecker passed away last week, and the game lost an icon. This is, when we say just a little bit outside, like, who we're talking about. And this guy was an absolute legend. Dan dug up some good stuff for Uecker. So Dan, what do you got? What's like for people who have never heard of this guy before? They're just like, who's this old dude everybody keeps crying about? Like, he was a big deal. Dan, what did he do?
Yeah, I mean, he was nicknamed Mr. Baseball. Like, he was one of the foremost ambassadors for the sport for the last almost over 70 years, 69 years. He had a 12-year career in the majors and minors. As a player, he was nothing remarkable. He had a career -1 BWAR and was a career 200 hitter. And he would be the first to tell you, like most of what he talked about was like self-deprecating about his baseball career. And that was part of his charm. He was a broadcaster for the Milwaukee Brewers for 54 years. He was born in Milwaukee, grew up in Milwaukee, played for the Milwaukee Braves when they were there, and when he played, he overlapped with. He was in a very iconic era. Like he was teammates with Hank Aaron and Bob Gibson, and won a World Series with those Bob Gibson, Lou Brock teams. And he was beloved by his teammates, and both of those guys, Hank Aaron and Bob Gibson, called Bob Uecker to talk to him on the last day of their life. Like on the day that they died, they wanted to talk to Bob Uecker one last time. He was. Yeah, it's hard to understate just how many different ways he touched baseball and Major League, which also brought a lot of fame to him. He played Harry Doyle in the Major League movies, and he's basically the heart and soul of those movies because he's the commentator for all the games. I love those movies despite them being a little problematic now and for a few different reasons. But yeah, they're at their core very fun, and he is what makes them fun. Like he's the beating heart of that, and he was the beating heart of the Brewers for over 5 decades. If you get the chance, there are so many clips of him on Johnny Carson or Letterman or whatever, just talking about baseball, talking about his career, and they're all they're all very charming. He was a very deserving Hall of Famer in 2003, I believe, and he'll be missed.
1964 World Series champion.
Yes, sir.
And was teammates with Joe Torre also, which was random. Do you know Joe Torre had a 1.8 reference WAR that year?
Joe Torre won NL MVP one year. his first career at bat was against Don Drysdale, and his last career at bat was against Bob Gibson. Like he played in he played in a crazy era. I also saw a tidbit that he played against a Casey Stengel managed team. Casey Stengel was born in 1890, and then in his this last season, he announced Jackson Churio on the Brewers, who was born in 2004. So that's a 214-year span that he like in terms of people that he touched in his baseball career. I love how baseball, even players that were objectively not that good. He also famously had a season when he was catching Phil Niekro, the knuckleballer, where he had 25 pass balls just catching him that year, and he talked about that one a lot. He was a catcher. He was not that good of a player, but he ended up being nicknamed Mr. Baseball just because of how many other ways he touched the game.
Don Drysdale and Bob Gibson. Like, you want to talk about two pitchers I never want to face? If I was a baseball player, like, who are the two guys you don't want to see? Bob Gibson and Don Drysdale. Like, I'll take anybody else. Like, put Randy Johnson in there. I don't care, but those two guys will kill me. Like, wow,
he was good friends with Gibson. Apart from the anecdote of Gibson calling him on his last day alive, they did a prank together on the team photo for the Cardinals, which I actually learned about last week when doing Curt Flood research, because Curt Flood was on that team as well. But Gibson and Euchre like held hands on the team photo, and it wasn't caught until like they were ready to distribute it. And they ended up getting fined and had to take the photo again. But it's a really funny photo.
Oh man, I bet you that photo's worth like $1 million now. You know, like.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible. Well, rest in power, Bob Uecker, Milwaukee's finest, January 26, 1934 to January 16th, 2025. Passed away age 90. Mr. Baseball, sure enough. That's what we got for the first part of the show. We'll be right back. We're gonna talk about some of the more recent happenings, including free agent news. Tony Tanks? What are they calling Anthony Santander now?
Oh, Tony Taters.
Tony Taters.
Yeah.
What the hell? I mean, okay.
I mean, he had
We'll get to
44
that.
home runs. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 44 is all right. It's all right.
Yeah, pretty good.
He's no Bobby Abreu. I'll stop. We'll be right back. Don't touch anything. Okay, so real quick, I'm gonna run out and get my beer. Anything else? How'd you guys feel like it went, like flow wise? It's good.
Pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'm gonna get my beer real quick. I'll be right back. Sorry.
All right.
Ugh.
I think I have Major League. Yeah, I have it right here.
Just a bit outside. I mean, that's a classic.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
Before went crazy.
Yeah, and a little unfortunate that it's the Cleveland Indians so heavily featured and really leads into that. But yeah, it's a fun movie.
Yeah,
the sequel's fun too.
I'm not totally. God, I think I watched it, but I was pretty young. I mean, the original I've seen several times, but
sure.
I think the sequel I've only seen once. That was probably middle school.
Yeah. Well.
All right.
Cheers.
Teach.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers. Guys, if you can drink beer while doing a sport, is it a sport?
I mean, what's it called? I watched an Olympic gold medalist drink beer while playing a sport. So, yes.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, you golf and drink beer, is that a sport?
I mean, golfers do drink beer. Johnny Daly, Arnold Palmer is an oh no, never mind. We call those alcoholic Arnold Palmers, but like John Daly,
alcoholic Arnold Palmer.
Yeah, we got.
You have to be an alcoholic to order an alcoholic Arnold Palmer. Like, what the hell? Like, just
we called it.
else.
We a lot of times wherever we'd mix that SoCo sweet tea vodka with like a lemon liqueur, and we call it a alcoholic Arnold Palmer like shooter.
Oh my god, I can't imagine anything more foul sounding. I think I got heartburn just listening to that. What are baseball used to be able to drink beer in baseball? You know, there'd be somebody at third base, I guess, waiting for you if you made it there with a beer. So,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, what's it called? I watched, you know, the U.S. team, whatever, win gold and curling 2018. And Matt Hamilton, the guy from Wisconsin, shockingly, was drinking a beer during the game. And that's a gold medalist. So put some respect on his name.
You know, argue against Olympic gold, you know, that's
I'm not going to argue against it. I'm just saying, you know what? They are sports. Those are the sports I like. All right. The ones that those are the ones I like to play. It's the ones that you can play while drinking a beer.
yeah. I mean, you know, beer league softball, you know, has a proud tradition in this country, and yeah, even chess is considered an Olympic sport technically, and you can definitely, I can attest that you can definitely drink beer while playing chess as well.
I played what's it called? Shot chess before.
Nice.
We had these like they're like 1/3 shot like little pieces, and when your piece gets captured, you have to take the drink. I was playing Warlow, who's like better and smarter than me, and so we were doing a best of 3, and so I elected to go for a very aggressive strategy because I'm like over twice his weight of just trying to trade pieces to just sacrifice the first game. He killed me in that first game, but he was tipsy enough that I took the second one, pushed it the full 3, but
Nice.
then my level dropped, and I guess like us both being tipsy, he was better than me again.
Damn.
And he took me in the third. So
The most Murph thing I've heard today.
we used to take the AMC test, also the high school like
Oh my
advanced
god,
math test.
Dan, have you heard about this?
No.
And
Okay,
yeah,
let's
so
get back.
basically-
We're coming back. We're coming back right now. This is going to be in the podcast, okay?
okay, yeah.
And we're back. We're actually talking right now about a really nerdy thing Colin used to do. Colin, tell us a little bit more about what you would do.
Yeah, so we used to, me and my college friends, we would play this game up. You guys remember the AMC tests? I think most people had to take them in high school. There's a middle school version too, but they're basically set for like 9th and 12th grade. And their advanced placement math, you do well enough, you go to the AMI, which is this very intense national competition. But anyways, it's pretty much the 12th one. It ends with around calculus, so it's pretty advanced, like for high school math. And so what we would do is we would play it, and we'd start at 25, which the hardest questions are at 25. And then whoever got it first and whoever got it last, or whoever missed it, they would all have to take a shot of alcohol. Everyone else doesn't have to do anything. And then you do one question at a time till you get to 20, and then you do 2 at a time down to 16, 3 to like, and then basically it ends with you have to do like the last 5 questions in like 3 minutes, and you're normally a couple shots in at that point. I think if you miss up everything, I believe it ends up coming out to 4, 5, 6. It's 11 shots. That's your worst case scenario if you miss every question, which you really shouldn't. And you know,
Yeah,
if
you brought
start-
that on yourself.
exactly. And if you go too quick and you win every single time, you're also, you know, you'll take the full 11. But it's pretty tough to stay quick and not sloppy if you especially as you kind of are against the clock a little bit. So yeah, we would play this game with our friends, and you know, it was vaguely competitive. Some of us were more just there for the fun though. But yeah, great social game. It's educational. It's a good way to spend some time with some friends, you know.
It's the
And you
most
can do it
Colin thing I've
virtually.
heard. Just as our listeners are probably listening to this thinking, what is this man talking about? He is talking about basically a placement exam to do, I guess it's Math Olympiad, right? Like you
Yeah.
could actually end up in Math Olympiad.
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's one of like the precursor tests, I think, right? Because there's the USAMO as well.
Yeah.
So it's a placement test, and these guys, these Caltech nerds, would basically just start drinking and take this test for fun, and that basically kind of sums up. The
But
guys I
it's
work with
great
for
fun
many
when
years.
someone like misses like a simple algebra question, and you just get to roast the person for a solid couple minutes. I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like that's like middle school math.
I'm
I
so
will say-
glad I didn't do this because you guys would be killing me. English major, by the way.
The scores have gotten worse since the further we've gotten from college. It's just, you know,
Of course.
And some of the smarter guys, especially, the guy I was talking about earlier, Warlow, he just flat out won't do any trig. So the moment if there's any like geometry or trig related questions, he just takes the shot and just skips the question, just starts talking and distracting everyone.
Yeah,
So
that's a great. You know what? I think that's one thing Warlow and I have in common. We both hate trig because I took trig 3 times.
I'm sad to only hear about this now because this would have been really fun back in my math prime. Because like back in high school, I was pretty good at math, but I have not like a friend of mine had a math problem that she was trying to figure out last year, and she gave it to me, and I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
I mean, especially the trig and geometry, like rules like SSA and stuff. Like, good God, no one remembers that.
Yeah, I was technically on the math team back in middle school, but by high school, by high school, I was literally my last semester in math, I got a D because I did so little of the homeworks, but then I got a 5 on the AP test, and it bumped it up two grades to a B. I was that guy.
How does that work?
I'll say that's harsh from your teacher. Ours had permanent rules that if you got a 4 or above on the AP test, automatic A, no matter what you had before.
Wow.
I mean, his yeah. If you got a 5, his policy was bumps it up 2 letter grades, which
Should
for
be an
most
A,
people should
but
have been an
yeah.
A, but I found a way.
You're probably the only D student to ever get a 5 that somehow didn't get an A in the class with this policy.
This is,
Yeah, good old days.
I'm so like outmatched right now. Like when it comes to math for you guys, like I think, like I said, I took trig 3 times, and then that was it. That's it for high school math. I stopped, and then I actually ended up scoring pretty well in the math SAT, which exempted me from which by the way goes up to algebra 2 trig. I think it's like the last math that you see on the SAT, and I'm like, oh, it's the math I've taken 3 times. Like, oh well, don't mind if I do. And then ended up being able to test out of math for an English major at every school I ended up going to afterwards. So
Nice.
I literally have not taken a math class outside of econ in I'm aging myself in 20 years. It's been 2 decades since I've done a math class. So
I'll just say I don't actually think trig and geometry are hard. It's just like memorization and like rote. Like, yeah. I mean, it's not really kind of like a good like mathematics or like science. It's really more like biology, one of those fake sciences. That's really
cut
just
that
more,
out. We're gonna cut that out. So you just say stupid stuff like that, and you just demean an entire branch of science, and that's not great. Not great, Marv. I would have rather you drop an F-bomb, like because now we have to cut that entire section out.
Well, yeah, this has been a nice and nerdy section of the podcast.
Yeah. Speaking of things people wish would things that teams would cut out or stop doing. Let's start with the Dodgers in free agency news. Actually, no. Tony Taters got his money. Anthony Santander is a Toronto Blue Jay. Let's take a look at these contract details.
poor Orioles.
Yeah.
5 years, 92.5. That's a lot of money for 44 home runs ceiling. But okay, like let's do it. The Blue Jays finally make a move. The New York Times called it a costly consolation prize, which is the meanest thing I've seen said about a free agent ever. Jeez Louise. Why don't you just tell me he sucks? Like, just what the hell? That's horrible.
I mean, he hit 44 homers, but his on base was 308. Like it was
Just some Chris Davis shit right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't say that. Okay. Yeah, no, that is, but 44 home runs is 44 home runs.
Yeah, he has power. Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
he's got pop. He's got a little pop. In other news, Roki Sasaki is a Dodger. I'm sure everyone here is super shocked. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. Here's the shocking one.
That
Kirby
MLB cleared the
Yates.
Dodgers of tampering 6 minutes after the signing. Was that
That's
the
my
shocking
favorite
thing?
part. It's like clearly they were tampering, and it's like, really? We flew
Everything's
in
cool
all
here,
our players
guys.
during
It's
the
fine.
offseason? Yeah. We made everybody show up and make a video. We had like Magic Johnson sign a jersey and all this crap, like because we had one in place. That's what we did. We showed out for our presentation. And
I mean,
Joel Wolf,
Dallas
What?
Keuchel said a deal was in place like a year ago.
Whatever,
This whole
dude.
dog and pony show was ridiculous.
Dallas Keuchel don't get to say nothing, dog.
Yeah, he was in
Unbelievable.
Japan.
I don't want to hear it.
Was
whole
he,
dog and pony-
was he on Roki's team?
Yeah, but it's stupid because like the Dodgers do send scouts to Japan frequently, and it might not just like. Of course, you're gonna kick the tires on the biggest like.
He
pitching
said
free-
handshake deal already done.
Whatever, dude.
Very possible.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, possible. Likely.
Oh no, don't do that. Kirby Yates is a Los Angeles Dodger.
Yeah, and Tanner Scott.
is a Los Angeles Dodger. We buried the lead.
Yeah.
And all I hear is, "Are the Dodgers ruining baseball? Is this good for the game?" Blah 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 blah. I got a story for you guys. All right, real quick. And we talked about it in the group chat, but for our listeners. All right, so today, Day, my son, needs a passport, and the only way you can get one in short order is to go to the passport office, which is located like 10 minutes from my house. And so we went there in the morning. It's freezing cold. All right. And there's a line like snaking around like the building to even get into security to like submit your stuff for like the passport application. So like to even get through security, there's a huge line. And I didn't realize that line is actually fed by another line, which is the line we're going to be in, which is where they check your documents to make sure you're actually supposed to be there. So we're waiting in line, and at the front of this first line, there's 2 stations and 2 people who are going to check your documents, who can check documents. So it just kind of like moves pretty quick, you know. We're at the back, and this lady just walks straight in front of us, doesn't ask us if we're in line, doesn't just straight up just cuss us like we don't even exist. And Eunice is a very diplomatic person. She's super nice about stuff like this. She was just like, he looks at me, he's like, "It's not a big deal, don't worry about it." And I was like, "This lady just fucking cut us." All right, like I literally just said it out loud. This lady just fucking cut us. Like, are you serious? And this lady does not turn around, does not say a word. Okay, like just looks forward. Which, okay, there's 2 explanations for this. One is she's a jerk. 2 is I'm 6.5 feet tall and 280 pounds. If that person was upset at me, I probably wouldn't look back at them either. All right, like I'm not gonna start nothing over it. All right, so she just keeps looking forward. And remember, you have all these documents in your hand. And so she drops the documents, like it's super cold, it's windy, and like she's reaching for her phone or something, fumbles, drops all her documents on the ground. And now she's going around playing pickup sticks with these papers that were just blowing around in the wind. It's pretty funny. Not gonna lie. But I resist laughing. And I just mind my own business. Okay. And she then starts loudly complaining. Nobody's gonna help me. Is nobody gonna help me? Is this what we're about here? It's like no one's gonna help me. All right, don't help me, anybody. She's literally saying this like out loud, like pretty loud. And I'm just standing there. Other people are just staring at her like, what's wrong with this lady? You know, like I got commentary on how this represents a big portion of America at large. But aside from that, guys, she made a move. She went into business for herself by cutting in line. She didn't do the human thing of like even asking, "Hey, are you guys in line?" She didn't treat us like human beings. And I'm inclined to think that if you had treated me like a human being, maybe I would have helped you pick up those papers. You know, maybe I would have been
Only
like,
a maybe.
snap. Yeah, I probably would have. You know, like if you treated me like a human being, I probably would have. You know, like just because, like, dude, we're all in this together. It's cold. This sucks. But because you did that, you automatically mark yourself as somebody who has to be responsible for what you did. You know, you kind of have to, like, if you're in business for yourself, then you need to take care of your business, all right, by yourself. All right. And that was like my big thing. But for her to complain that no one else was helping her, I was just like, you got to be kidding me, lady. Like, just be quiet. You know, like we're already cranky. Like, just be quiet. And and I texted the boys this today. And I made sure to say, That's why I don't care if the Dodgers spend all this money this offseason. And that's why, it doesn't matter to me, because the rest of these teams are people who are complaining that no one helped them. And the loudest complainants are the New York baseball fans. They're the Yankees fans and the Mets fans. Like the Mets, who just signed somebody for $765 million, are complaining. The Yankees, who had a $200 million payroll 20 years ago. 20 years ago, guys, adjusted for inflation, that's close to 300. That's like pretty much the Dodgers payroll right now, adjusted for inflation. Like New York baseball fans are complaining that we need a salary cap. Like the irony of this is not lost to me. I don't feel bad at all. I'm so happy that the Dodgers are doing this. And I just want you all to know that every single offseason acquisition that the Dodgers have made combined is still less than half of Juan Soto's total contract value. All right. I just want to remind everybody about that. We got Blake Snell, Roki Sasaki, Haesung Kim, Tanner Scott, Blake Trinan back, Teoscar Hernandez back, Tommy Edman extension, all that combined, still less than half of Juan Soto's contract. All right. So you don't like it? Here's a straw. Okay. Like seriously. This is literally like, I don't know what you expect a team to do. I will say, the Kirby Yates signing was where I was like, I texted Dan, I was like, all right, the Kirby Yates one was a little dicey. I feel like we just took him to make sure nobody else gets him. Like it was kind of a messed up thing to do. Like, I don't know. Dan, what's your take on all this?
To your Yankees point, Ben Lindbergh on the Ringer had some good stats that I wrote down here. The Dodgers projected payroll this coming season is projected to be about 25% more than second place, the Mets, and 5.5 times more than last place, the Marlins. And the 2005-2006 Yankees, the Yankees had 68% higher payroll than second place, which was the Red Sox, and 12 times the payroll of that lowest paid team, which was again the Marlins.
Some things never change.
Some things don't change. So yeah, proportionally, like we are, like what we're doing isn't like what the Yankees were doing. It is. I understand the frustration, but ultimately, like we are trying to win. We are trying to, we're operating within the rules, trying to field the best team out there, and everyone else is mad because their teams aren't doing that. Tom Ricketts is out crying poor in the third biggest market in the U.S. While he's actively buying up every building in Wrigleyville around the stadium to milk even more money out of the team. But yes, no, he's barely breaking even every year.
I have two things on this in the sense of like, I appreciate how you guys like to frame this argument with like the Cubs, Yankees, and Mets complaining,
right?
Because there are some other teams out there, that have. I think
there's other teams,
I think a little bit frustrated. I agree with you. I don't have the world's smallest violin to give a shit about Mets and Yankee fans complaining that they're getting outbid on these giga contracts by the Dodgers. But I mean, I do think that like. This goes back to something even when I was pretty young, back in middle school. And one of my best friends, he was a big Red Sox fan, and he used to always talk about how you got to root against the Yankees. The Yankees are evil and stuff like wherever they just buy everyone up and yada yada. And I was just like, dude, you guys buy up everyone else also. Like what?
You guys buy whatever else doesn't get bought.
Exactly. And then he's like, oh, they took Johnny Damon from us. And it's like, yeah, and you took Ortiz like from like the Twins and stuff. Like, well, what are you even going into? Like you took Beckett from the Marlins, Schilling obviously from the Diamondbacks. So it's just like, it's just so funny how like I think like second through fifth like turn into the biggest whiners when there's a new number one like spending over them, while the other 20 MLB teams are kind of like, yeah, guys, we agree. We've been saying this is unfair for a while, and I do think it's it's problematic where like the Dodgers tax bill is going to be higher than I think it's over a third of the MLB teams' payroll. Like the Dodgers staring down like what 140 million in tax right now, potentially more after the last signing. I think the numbers are in flux. At least I haven't seen like a hard numbers out, but Yeah, I mean, that level of disparity isn't good for the game in general. Like the reason why the NFL has been one of the best like run leagues is just because the salary cap, the competitiveness of it, and everything like kind of holds everything together to an extent. And you're at the point here where I mean the Dodgers don't enough room on their 40 man to sign both Kirby Yates and I forgot who the other person was, but they're gonna have to let
Tanner
a
Scott.
reliever go who's instantly gonna get picked up because
Right.
your 40th man cast off is instantly gonna make everyone's 26 day, like most teams 26 day team. Like you guys are utterly ridiculous. This is like Chelsea back in their prime with the Russian oligarch or whatever, where they were signing like 50 players in a season, then just loaning everyone out and then just taking money on the fees and everything.
Yeah,
And
just
cities-
letting Kevin De Bruyne walk because they had no room for him.
Yeah, exactly. And they're just taking like, City's done this to an extent too, where these top Premier League teams, they just take other like mid-tier teams, best players, and sit them in their bench and rotate them in every 5th game and just ensure that they can't be used against them. I mean, that's literally what the Tanner Scott signing feels like. Now no one has the Otani counter. Like we don't even need him. We just want to make sure no one else has him.
No, Tanner Scott's a good reliever, Colin. That's the thing. Like, I'm gonna put on some cloud cover for my boy here. Okay, like, yeah, no. he's
You
definitely
guys
not a
signed him so that no one else would have him in the playoffs versus Otani
Listen,
and
if
Freeman.
it wasn't us, he was going back to the Padres. All right, like we can't have that. All right, like that's just no. We'll pay $73 million for that. Okay, like, are you kidding me? Of
It's
course
even
you'll do
more
that.
with the tax, right? Like I heard the contract actually ends up being around 140 million
Yeah.
when you factor in the luxury tax stuff. And when it comes to stuff like that, it just shows you how utterly ridiculous it is. Like that'd be the 3rd largest contract in Diamondbacks history in 140 million. That's the 3rd largest.
Yeah, he's like our number
And-
2, number 3 reliever.
And you're doing that, yeah, not even for your number 1 reliever. Like,
Like Kopech and Trenton.
yeah. So, yeah, I mean, obviously this is bad for baseball, but I'm fully with you guys in the sense that, yes, I don't want to hear Ricketts and the Cubs like complaining or, all those Mets fans or whatever after what they did with Soto. Although convenient, that you're not talking about the Otani deal, which obviously has you guys still blowing them out the water
That
over
was
the last
last
2
year.
years.
We're talking
You have
about
3
this year.
MVPs in your lineup and none of them are homegrown. Like, of course, everyone's going to be salty as hell.
Hey,
Like-
man. Hey, you might have homegrown them, but that's really just a way of saying you had them on the cheap. You could have done something with them when you had them on team control contracts, and instead, you fumbled the bag and you have to send us David Price, and we have to pay down half his contract for you guys. Like,
No, I
I'm
mean,
saying-
I've said multiple times, Robert, one of my biggest annoyances, it's not necessarily even Otani. Like, it's the fact that big market teams that shouldn't be giving up their stars, like the Braves and the Red Sox, gave up MVP players to the Dodgers. And like that shouldn't be happening in a healthy run league. Like the Braves and the Red Sox are supposed to be teams that keep their guys. When those teams turn into farmer teams for Google big teams, like that's a problem. But also like the Red Sox can afford this. Like it's utterly ridiculous to claim that they can't. Similar with the Braves, they could 100% have afforded Freeman. Although I know there was some weird stuff with the agent.
Yeah.
Freeman fired his agent after the whole thing. Apparently wasn't very happy with how he handled the Braves negotiation. But like, yeah, it's those are the teams I beef with primarily. Like the Angels not being able to keep Otani after failing to make the playoffs for, that just makes sense. Like, like
I don't know what you expected. All right.
Yeah.
yeah. But like,
They make
not
routine out
trading
ruining
him
generational
at
players.
the deadline before his contract was up was the mistake that they made. Like
Yeah.
there was no way he was coming back.
I
but,
mean,
like,
do you
yeah.
remember what they traded at the deadline? They traded for like a nothing sandwich. Like they got
Yeah.
like Lucas Giolito and like a bunch of like random dudes. I was like, and just the guys. Like I think I got Randall Grichuk or something like that. It was just like, who are these guys? And they're like, oh, we're gonna make a playoff push. And I'm like, is that a joke? Like, do you not see your division? There's no way these guys are gonna help you win. You need 2 Shohei Otanis, like,
Yeah.
and 2 Mike Trouts. Okay, like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. I mean, okay. Colin, as big as our tax bill is, where's all that money go? Isn't baseball technically communism or socialism?
I mean,
Where's all
socialist
that
to an
tax money go?
extent. Yeah. I mean, all
Yeah.
professional sports are because, like, quite literally, they have the public pay for the stadiums. So,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
that too.
Uh,
that part.
you know.
Let's not even start with that. No, we're
Yeah.
talking about among teams. It is kind of a socialist system. All this tax money goes someplace. Now, the thing that I think teams should have a gripe about are these deferrals dragging down the CBT number, AAV. And the deferral, basically, the player signs it so that it's hunky-dory with the player. It's not hunky-dory for these teams who are missing out on literally tens of millions of dollars in tax revenue because the Dodgers are basically like So the Shohei Ohtani deal operates like a 10-year, $461 million deal and not a 10-year, $700 million deal. That means the AAV is like significantly lower, which means like the Dodgers can continue to spend and then like stay under the tax line. Well, these deferrals are a way to circumvent the system a little bit, like you get basically just like kind of shave off the interest that you would be accruing. But the problem being, this all adds up, and what should be, player gets paid X amount, you spread that up. They made so many they tried to close so many loopholes to keep this AAV nice and tidy, and the Dodgers found the one loophole to like bring it down. And it actually impacts the bottom line of these low revenue clubs because they're not actually going to get as much money as that they otherwise might have. Now, would they be able to sign a large dollar amount? Would these players be able to sign for as large a dollar amount without the deferrals? I'm a little bit more dicey on that. But I think they are actually missing out on a significant amount of tax revenue because the way these deferred contracts are structured, that ultimately lead to less tax dollars going out. That said, $140 million is plenty. You guys all split it up, and why don't you pay some of your players? Instead of just pocketing the money, huh?
I would argue the deferrals only really matter in that sense on the Ohtani contract. Like the Ohtani contract is such an
That's
outlier where 680 of the 700 million is deferred. That's just such an absurd number that that by itself is game breaking. Like the fact that we can pay Ohtani $2 million a year right now is ridiculous. But that's because Ohtani wanted it that way, and Ohtani wanted to build this team around him, and that's what we're taking advantage of. But apart from that, the deferrals, I don't think that they make some difference in terms of the CBT, but not that much. Like because it's only a chunk of the contract, and ultimately we're still sending out a bunch of money, like you said.
But when we get to dollar for dollar and repeater, that's when it starts to man, you guys are actually missing out on a lot of money.
I mean, the bigger beef is the state of California, who's losing actually a lot of money on all these deferrals.
Yes.
Can we not dunk on California for 1 week? All right.
Hey, we're on week 3 of the fires. I'm gonna keep
just chill out on California for a little bit. Because God hates us. All right.
Well,
but yeah, no, I mean,
over here in the rest of the country, everything else is frozen, so it's.
Yeah, you guys it must be rough, huh? Really hot over there. Hey, not funny.
Real fuel was at -22 or a little earlier today, I think.
Yeah, tell that to a firefighter in the Palisades.
Or even more importantly, in the Eaton fire.
Yeah, actually, people were actually impacted over there. Yeah. It's pretty rough.
But yeah, I think the bigger thing that I personally have an issue with and think the MLB needs to look into is I never thought that the RSNs should have been treated as individual money for the teams. I think that was a mistake from the league from the get-go, and that's what causes this massive imbalance. I mean, the Diamondbacks specifically, our media rights are owned by baseball, and the Dodgers are getting $300 million from Sportsnet LA. That was initially, I know, put forward by the Yankees and stuff because a lot of those big teams wanted to ensure that they had a perpetual advantage over everyone else by having that. But that at its end kind of goes against the strength of the overall league. You look at something like the NFL where literally it's all shared. They should the only thing that's individually done it's the stadium, the parking, the seats, the concession, just game day revenue. That's the only thing that differs. And I guess playoff money gets shifted out only if you make it to that round. But the media deals all get split up equally. And I think that's how it should be because it really the strength of the league is what matters with the TV deals, not the team. The MLB should be operating that as a franchise, not have the individual teams do it as a collective, because that just doesn't make any sense. Because then you're kind of saying that the 30 teams are individual companies that are all in a collective together, when the MLB is clearly a league first with 30 kind of branches underneath. That's why they all elect the commissioner themselves. Yep. So I just think from an organizational point of view, it made no sense to ever have the RSNs break out with that. RSN being our regional sports networks.
Yeah.
So I thought, and that's what the big problem is, and that's the reason why the Dodgers and Yankees are so much stronger than everyone else, is because of that giant, Comcast or deal, Sportsnet.
Time Warner.
Sorry,
yeah.
Time Warner Sportsnet.
Yeah, that's the other game breaker for the Dodgers, the Ohtani contract, and then the $300 million a year that we're locked into until 2039, I think. While with the cable bubble bursting, a lot of teams are losing their $60 million deals and sort of scrambling to get.
We don't have a deal.
Exactly.
Diamondbacks have zero.
So yeah, that is a huge advantage, and like, but I mean, that is but again, teams like the Yankees and the Cubs have their own channel as well. Like some
Yeah,
like
Marquee.
it is.
Yeah, I don't want to hear people from the Yankees channel or WGN or Turner, like, Braves. Like, I don't want to hear them complaining. But yeah, some of these other teams, wherever we're stuck in, there's no media deal. Like, I honestly, every time I see Passan and Heyman tweet out your owner's cheap, just spend more or whatever, it's like, okay, first off, let's not even remotely pretend the economics of these teams are the same. Like that's just
it's impossible
reality.
to argue that the NFL, like the NFL model, is so much more fair, like in terms of like having an even playing field. Absolutely, with the salary cap and the shared media rights, and of course,
I would argue those two are actually intertwined. Like they actually they play off each other, because in order to have a salary cap and a salary floor, I think generally it's like a revenue share, right? Like it's a revenue split between the players and the owners, right? And so that in previous CBAs has been kind of a non-starter to have like a salary cap with a revenue share. That always gets shot down first thing on CBA discussions when the MLBPA goes to negotiate. And that's what I'm curious about, is like, how much money are we talking about here that you guys don't even want to open the books up? Like you guys don't even want to show us like what the 50-50 split would be. Like how much bigger would the contracts be? And now that we're seeing it play out where the haves are the only ones buying and the have-nots are just like, doing service time manipulation and just like kind of like, running out minimum contracts and team control deals. Like when you do stuff like that, it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, all right, they thought that it was going to play out to a lesser dollar amount, and it is overall for the players. So I'm curious to see like if we can actually get that started. And then at the same time, Colin and Dan, you guys both alluded to like the media deals kind of exploding and like kind of teams being left out in the cold. And for like Manfred to figure out your media situation, which is rough. It's going to be like literally, I think it's going to be MLB TV with like a Diamondbacks add-on package. You add $10 and you can get all the D-backs games, oh man, that's brutal. So like, that's like a different thing altogether. Whereas the Dodgers are obviously locked in, and as long as what is it, Charter
15 more years.
Yeah, Spectrum is solvent, we'll be okay.
Maybe I need to go see if they were responsible for the Eaton fire. I know there's been a lot of talk about cables and stuff. We can bankrupt something here.
Oh man. So yeah, no, you guys are totally right. It is inherently unfair because of the market sizes, and the market sizes are actually played out in the economics in a very real way.
Yeah.
And especially the Dodgers, who are just like till 2039. Guys, I don't think cable TV is going to exist in 2039. Yeah. Like, what the hell? So like the Dodgers might be the only reason to buy cable TV at that point.
I legit think they're going to go under at some point, just because that contract is going to be an albatross that forces them into insolvency. Just with how much cable cutting, like it's just tough to envision.
Very possible.
Yeah. The deal that's going to anchor over their head. And maybe that's something that the Dodgers are kind of aware of, and they know the next CBA, which isn't going to come out for a while, but is going to have some changes to that. And they're just trying to get ahead of this while they can. Again, I have no issues with the Dodgers in the sense of like, they have the money, they're spending the money, like the rules allow it, like they're not cheating or doing anything. Like it's just more lamenting the league rules that allow a situation like this to occur. Like, people complain about the NBA to an extent with, the players only want to live in a couple cities, but at least all the teams can kind of offer similar deals to an extent. Like, yes, people pick LA anyway and Miami and New York, but at least what's it called? Like, Milwaukee's been able to keep Giannis, and, SGA is probably going to stay in OKC for a bit and stuff. Like you have the chance there, but it's turning into a bad situation. I think in baseball, when the payroll discrepancies are getting this large. And I've said this for a while, even when before it was the Yankees. It's utterly insane that the Yankees and Mets and Cubs are complaining about this. It's like
they're the loudest complainers.
Ricketts' statement was just so tone deaf, and
I want to see Ricketts' books. Yeah, like it's like, dude, how are you breaking even? Like, what are you talking about?
He probably is breaking even because, as Dan said, he's buying up every piece of real estate around the area, and he's counting that as, oh no, expenditure.
We break even around here. We're like, what? Are you serious? Jason Hayward contract wasn't that bad. Like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah, he's basically buying up a city within the city for himself. But poor
Poor Ricketts. Oh
Yeah.
no. And also freaking Red Sox. My God, like, and I think honestly that kind of pisses off or scares off free agents also. So I'm hearing that the Red Sox actually offered Tanner Scott a higher AAV, and they basically,
which is wild.
Yeah,
because
which
we
is
gave him a
insane.
ton of money.
Yeah, we're backing up the Brinks truck for his ass.
Yeah.
And Tanner Scott said no. And I think 2018, when they went all in and they had the highest payroll in baseball that year, it was like kind of inevitable that they would be breaking up the team regardless of whether or not they won, because they cannot afford to keep trying this team out. And Mookie's departure also seemed somewhat inevitable. I remember salivating over Mookie Betts, like, when I was like, when's this free agency? I'm just like counting down the days. I'm like writing down another day. Oh, almost. We're getting there. He's coming. And then we, of course, speed up the process. But it just felt like the Boston Red Sox were going to rebuild. And you don't want to be part of a freaking rebuild if you're a player. Like, that's not why you're going. Like, free agency, you're just like, oh, yeah, I can't wait to spearhead this rebuild. Like, no, I thought we were playing for rings, man. What the hell? Like, so with that said, fellas, let's do a quick meta zoom out on baseball right now. Is it possible to have a dynasty, though? Like, is it, like, possible to where, like, okay, yeah, they spend the most money, so, like, directly correlated, they're going to win the World Series, like, more likely than not. Like, I remember with the NBA when Kevin Durant joined the Warriors, literally I was just like, well, I guess I don't have to watch basketball anymore. Like, literally, that's how I felt. Because I was like, you had Kevin Durant to that team. Like, you swapped out Harrison Barnes for Kevin Durant. Like, I'm turning off the TV. Like, just not going to watch. Like, what, you want me to watch this crap? Like, they're going to annihilate the Cavs.
It
like,
was
what are you
a
talking about?
foregone conclusion every year.
It was,
unless
really was.
they had a major string of injuries, like
Kevin
in
Durant got
2019.
shot in the leg or something. Then that's yeah.
2018 Rockets did push him to the brink without any.
Stop that.
True.
Okay, yeah, they
But,
had a shot,
but
yeah,
and
it shot wet with Chris Paul's hamstring. All right, like that was it.
Yeah, but I mean, it just shows that if the Rockets stayed healthy, like.
Yeah,
They could've
but
pulled that
you needed everything to sort of break right to beat
Sure.
this team. Yeah.
And also,
And then-
like, miraculously, they were holding the Warriors under 100 points for several games in that series.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like with the NBA, you kind of have an odds on. If you had LeBron on your team and you're an Eastern Conference team, it's like
You were in the
all right,
finals every
well,
year.
see you guys in 8 years, I guess. Like, or if you had Shaq on your team from 1999 to 2003, it was like, yeah, they're going to be in the finals. Like, you can try to beat them. I don't know, but they're going to be in the finals.
Or even like the Duncan Spurs, like they had
Yeah.
18 consecutive 50-win seasons. They won 5 titles. Like they were always
In the
so good.
mix. Yeah,
No matter what.
Always in the mix for a ring.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock you
Yeah.
for them to win a ring. And so baseball, I think, and this is where I argue, is there's so much variance in baseball that it's kind of like, who cares? Like you might have the best players in the league. If they all of a sudden go cold, or like your relief pitcher has a blow up, like they might be perfectly healthy on, biologically, but like, or physiologically, and then mentally they might have like some sort of like yips, and all of a sudden it's like, damn, this guy can't stop throwing changeups down the pipe, like, and the balls are just getting crushed. Like, we don't have a plan B because he was our plan B, like, what's going on? Baseball has these types of moments, which makes it more competitive and more exciting inherently. The game itself is exciting because it is so challenging and it is so streaky. Like, I'm going to play a little quick. Guess that team, okay? We're going to play Guess That Team. And you guys know the team, but all right.
Yeah.
Name some players. All right. And you guys are going to figure out which team this is. And I have their R WAR numbers in parentheses. Machado, 2.9 WAR. Tatis, 5.5 WAR. Xander Bogaerts, 4.4 WAR. Juan Soto, 5.5 WAR. Ha-Sung Kim, 5.8 WAR. Blake Snell, NL Cy Young Award winner. Yu Darvish, Joe Musgrove, Michael Wacha, Seth Lugo, Josh Hader, Nick Martinez. How far do you think this team went in the playoffs? Listeners, they missed the playoffs. Their Pythagorean win-loss was 92-70. I think they finished that season 80-82. Like they actually had a losing record.
No, they had a winning record.
Are they a winning record?
We
What was-
we ended up barely beating them out for the last wild card spot.
yeah.
But that's because they went on a win streak late when they were basically eliminated. But yeah, they only finished like I think in the end they only finished a game or two behind the Diamondbacks.
The vibes were so bad on that team.
Because I
Vibes on that
definitely know what
team
team you're talking about.
atrocious. It's atrocious. It was so. You know what? You know what personified that entire season for me? And we're talking about the 2023 San Diego Padres, just so we're clear, which was a freaking super team. I don't want to hear it. Like this is a super team. Okay, like
They had a ton of talent.
they
at
had
least
a
on the
crazy
top.
amount
Yeah.
of talent.
Yeah.
Crazy. Okay, and you know what? Like basically summed up the season was Machado yelling at Tatis in the dugout. Like he's screaming at him, but he's also encouraging him. And I was like confused. It was kind of like your parents are like yelling at you for doing something right, or like yelling at you because they want you to feel more confident. Like it was very strange. And I'm just sitting here just being like, is he pissed at him or is he trying to encourage him? And this kind of Fence City feeling was basically the Padres season show. Like they basically just sold the season. And then to Colin's point, the D-backs, whose Pythagorean was like the freaking opposite of like the number of one-run games this team won, just so we're clear. Absolute insanity. They go on to the World Series. They knock out number 1 payroll, number 3 payroll. Like they're beating everybody on the way to the World Series. And then they lose to the Rangers, who like mysteriously just decide to have as many corner infielders as they could possibly buy, and then like decide to like, all right, Simeon, Seager, yeah, you guys just like spread out and like figure it out. But just let me know when you want to bet. You know, like it was a crazy team and a crazy season. But like the D-backs got hot. You know, like and they beat the Phillies, who were like a freaking juggernaut that year. Okay, like I was scared of the Phillies. I'm a Dodger fan. I was scared of the Phillies. The D-backs just tarred and feathered them. It was horrible.
I mean,
like
you remember what I said heading into that year, though, I was like, I wanted to get you guys in the divisional because I thought you guys were very ripe for an upset.
yeah,
I mean, I didn't think it was be one where we led after 25 of the 27 innings in a sweep, but like it was very much like that. But I mean, the Philly series was unbelievable. Like that team was way better than us. That was utterly ridiculous that they weren't able to close that out.
that team was way better than us, and then you beat them.
Yeah.
Like, they forgot how to hit. Like, yo.
And it happened. It's been happening for a while. I pulled up the 2005 Yankees, the one that I named earlier, that had 68% more than the second highest spending team. They had A-Rod with a 9.4 WAR, Randy Johnson 5.7, Giambi 4.6, Matsui 4.5, Posada 4.4, Sheffield 4.1, Rivera 4.0, Jeter 3.8. Like they and it keeps going. They have had a ton of talent. They lost in the ALDS. They lost to the Angels.
Oh, I assume they because that's the year the White Sox swept everyone. Like in low key, probably the most dominant playoff run of all time.
That was
Or at least in my lifetime.
Those 4 starters just mowed everyone down.
Yeah, it was like I think they had like 4 different guys pitched a complete game in the World Series, swept all the way through. That was
they swept through the Angels, not the Yankees.
They ran a train through the Angels, and 4 different guys had complete games. You're right, Murph.
No.
It was Burley Contreras, Freddie Garcia, and John Garland.
But yeah, I'm jumping through the 2005 Yankees, 95 regular season wins, lost in the ALDS. 2006 Yankees, 97 regular season wins, lost in the ALDS. 2007 Yankees, 94 wins in the regular season, lost in the ALDS. Like it's just nonstop. And they were all stacked teams with like payrolls just so much bigger than anyone else, and it didn't matter because that's baseball.
That's what I'm saying. So like, all right, guys, let's do a quick exercise. How do you define a dynasty? You know, and like I want you guys to think of like one dynasty that comes to mind for each of these sports. All right, like what defines dynasty for you? Like knee jerk. All right, Dan, give me an NBA dynasty.
I mean, it has to be the Bill Russell Celtics. Like
okay,
they were
besides them. There's 8 freaking teams in the league. Then.
Sure.
You should probably also throw out the Jordan 6 and 8 because that's just so obviously a dynasty that
that was the next one I was gonna say. Like that's just probably the '80s Lakers. Then five titles,
five
yeah.
titles, 9 championship appearances over
Yeah.
the course of like 12 years.
Yeah. The 5 titles were in 10 years, I believe.
Yeah. 5 titles in 10 years, and then we had a couple more. That's a dynasty.
5 to 9 years, actually, I think.
That's a
It was
lot of
80
titles
and
in a
then
short amount of time.
88. Yeah, it was crazy.
Murph,
but yeah.
Murph, what's an NFL dynasty?
I mean, I think the one that it's kind of spread out, but I mean, the Brady Belichick Pats is just pretty tough to argue about. I mean, you're talking about a team that missed the playoffs, I think, grand total of 1 year. And that was the year that Brady tore his ACL on the first game of the first quarter, the first game of the season. They won, and they also kind of hit a lot of people's thing. A lot of people say like 3-5, and they had 3-4. They had 2001, 2003, 2004. Then they ended up winning 3 more after that. As they had their second little run there, 2016, 2018, and spacing on another one in there, 2019.
18,
No.
17 was us.
Yeah. No, they didn't go back to back again. It was 2016.
You're talking
There's
about the Rams
another
one?
one in there. Yeah. Oh, 2014, because the Wilson throwing the ball at the goal line. 2014,
that's right,
16,
yeah.
18, 3-5. Yeah. So I think that's kind of one that that's the easy one that comes to mind. You could also throw the Andy Reid Chiefs in right now because their worst, I think in 6 years, the worst result they've had is losing at home in the AFC Championship game in overtime. That is the worst result for the Chiefs in the last 6 years, is hosting the AFC Championship game and losing in overtime.
I hate this so much because Andy Reid was a phenomenal coach for the Eagles, and he got fired because our fans are horrible people. I just, oh my god, could have been us. Could have been us.
Well,
Yeah.
Donovan McNabb was pretty good, but he was no.
He's no Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I'll give you that. But,
Bold take. Anything else spicy you want to throw out there, guys?
I mean, I was just responding to the "it could have been us" claim. Like Andy Reid,
Could've
great
been
coach,
us, though.
but yeah, it's a.
But yeah, I think they're on 7th straight AFC Championship game. Thank God Lamar stopped it, because this almost was 7 straight hosting of the AFC Championship game from the Chiefs, but they went on the road and won in Baltimore to break up their 5 straight, as my Kansas City friend says. He was calling the AFC Championship game the Arrowhead Invitational. And yeah, it's gotten a little ridiculous. Yeah, it's Neil. Yes.
That's so obnoxious.
Oh
Neil,
yeah.
by the way, in our fantasy football league, always like taking Harrison Butker and like all the Chiefs players. And
Oh,
I really
absolutely.
it's just disgusting.
In my fantasy football league, I took Mason Crosby as my kicker for like 15
That
straight
is-
years,
oh,
however
my
long he
Lord.
was on the team.
Oh, same. Always named my team the Crosby
The
Show.
Crosby Show.
Yeah. At first, I thought it was clever, and then it was kind of
And then became
after the whole thing broke.
It's like, you don't want to be part of the Crosby Show anymore, both figuratively and like, as a kicker too. We don't really love him that much anymore.
Yeah, Neil, what's it called? He has, I think he has 2 sports jerseys: Chris Jones and Salvador Perez.
That's the most Kansas City thing I ever heard in my life.
The only Packers jersey that I actively wear these days is my Mason Crosby jersey, because
Wow.
I don't wear my Aaron Rodgers anymore.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
My wife got me a Mark Murphy jersey. So
Oh, nice. That's pretty sick.
and I have the Bakhtiari one, but I don't love wearing the number 69 out in
I
public.
got that
so-
for Colin for his bachelor party.
Yeah.
I got him at Bakhtiari.
I have it.
Nice.
What's it called? I just don't wear it. I don't wear it out a ton. Yeah.
He's always that guy, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it was the perfect jersey for a bachelor party.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, you can
100%.
wear it during a bachelor party. You just can't wear it like pretty much any other time.
I brought it curling.
Yeah, you took it to that photo is still on my TV. Shoot, I had something.
I think you're supposed to give us baseball if we're going to continue the sports,
So
or you could do
that's what I'm saying.
soccer, or you could do
We're
hockey.
college
not doing
football.
freaking soccer, okay? College football, it's like obviously Saban's Alabama was like a dynasty. Bear Bryant, I have Bear Bryant, Alabama, Bobby Bowden, Florida State, and then like Pete Carroll, USC, which like, I'll just kind of slide that in there, but it's obviously not on the tier.
It didn't last for a long time, but it
it
was it was pretty dominant for a couple of years there.
Yeah,
I
but
don't know
my
if that
point
counts
being,
as a dynasty.
guys, can you name an MLB dynasty?
I mean,
I mean,
before
the Yankees core
yeah.
4. Yeah.
Yeah.
They won 3 straight. Diamondbacks stopped them from winning 4.
Uh-huh.
Then they won another one a couple years later. Lost. Yeah, they beat the Mets, I think, the next year, and then they lost to the Marlins in 03, right?
I mean,
I think I missed the Angels Giants one somewhere in there too. But
That's
yeah.
2002.
I mean, the Yankees, like, between 1923 and 1962, that's a 40-year span.
Yeah.
They made
so that was like
They made
the Empire.
25 World Series and won 20. Like
Yeah.
they won literally on average every other year for 40 years. Like that.
That's a crazy ass dynasty. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real dynasty. And then since then, it's been kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, like core 4. Yeah, I'll give them that for sure.
That's the
I think-
closest thing, especially since free agency started. Like,
Right.
like the last team before the core 4 to have any argument is the A's that won 3 in a row in the early 70s. They won 72. No, they won 72, 73, 74. And that was like right before free agency started.
I mean, they were so not dominant, but typically 3 and 5 gets you that. And
Oh,
so
I know
even
what
your
you're saying.
bullshit
I
Giants.
know. I was just about to go there. So that's what I'm saying. It was like they missed the playoffs on the odd number years.
and
but
I think they
won
only
the World
won
Series.
the division once in that
Yeah.
stretch too.
Yeah,
Like,
they were the wild card team for
Yeah,
that's
that's the next best argument, and which is wild.
I'll
which is
throw,
insane.
I'll throw a third one out there for the modern era, and you guys aren't gonna like it, but the Astros did make 7 straight ALCSs, and they won 2 titles,
Wow, that's
and they
super
lost the
LeBron
World
of you.
Series twice.
Yeah, you made the NBA Finals 7 times, but like you won like what 2 of them?
I mean, for sport like baseball, like that is an insane level.
That is
of
that is an
consistency.
insane stretch.
That
I
is
would
an
agree
insane
with that.
stretch.
Yeah.
And
So-
and they weren't playing. Yeah, they were playing a bunch of slapdick teams, but like, all the
I mean,
field
they were beating the
competitions
shit
on
out of the
our side
Yankees.
bracket.
Yeah, they're beating the Yankees pretty much every year. It felt like during that stretch.
They're so salty about it, but like those teams weren't that good. That's the thing the Yankees need to confront. Like, you're not
Yeah,
as deep
and
as the Stros.
beyond that, the Red Sox won 4 in 15 years between 2004 and 2018, which is not
Yeah,
a dynasty, but that's
when
like
they opened the floodgates.
yeah, that's it's something like that's yeah.
But it never felt like that we could.
It's not a
You
dynasty.
could count on
Yeah.
them to
Yeah.
be in the playoffs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I think the Astros is a good example actually, is that you can kind of count on them to win the division.
Yeah.
And the Dodgers, you can count on them to win division. But when it comes to titles, Dodgers have 2 in like 30 years. You know, like it's
yeah,
just not. It's not.
since '88, so 27. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
if the Dodgers get another title, I think everyone's going to put them in the dynasty thing because you'll have 20, this one 2024. If you get 2025, 2026, that's 3 and 6, and you guys will. I'm just going to project out. Probably going to be at like 14 out of 15 years winning the division, 15 straight playoffs. Like that's going to look, in hindsight, pretty dynasty. Like maybe a little bit more like the '90s Braves, but like you're looking at like a sustained level of success that is like very tough to achieve in a sport like baseball.
So
yeah, we're like, how many did Mookie Betts said that we were he was aiming to
so
win
for
like
3 more.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mookie's on a dynasty right now. He's got 3 and 5, right?
Yeah. Mookie's a dynasty.
Oh no, 3 and
3 and
6
6
or
and
7.
6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
never mind.
18, 20, and 24.
Yeah.
But
Will Smith, is Will Smith on a dynasty?
no, if you're named Will Smith, you're on a hell of a dynasty.
Yeah, so if we rally around Mookie Betts and don't want to make him a liar, we win 5 or 6, then yes, I think it would be a slam dunk dynasty. But I mean, what the Dodgers have achieved since 2013, like winning consistently and being in the mix every year and winning a couple times, like that is as close as we've gotten.
I think
Your one non-division title, you won 106 games. That's what's annoying being in the NL West right now.
I mean, it's a hot division a little bit, so- okay, but my point being, guys, is that like it is ultimately anybody's game. It really is like, okay, not anybody's game. Sorry, Pat.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
but it's like
If you're in the playoffs and you get hot, you can beat any team. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it so magical. And that's what makes it like actually so challenging to have a consistent championship dynasty, where you're like consistently winning World Series titles in the vein of a 49-53 Yankees, core 4 Yankees, 30s Yankees, like it's just all the Yankees, honestly. Like that was my list.
There are a lot of Yankee runs.
There's a lot of Yankee years.
20 and 40 years is
It's insane. That's insane. And there were a lot of teams back then too. It wasn't like the Celtics where you had 8 teams and it's like, oh yeah, one of us has to win it this year.
Yeah.
No,
but at the same time, most of those World Series wins for the Yankees was before there was even the League Championship Series, which like if they had the best record, they went to the World Series. And if the Dodgers had that, we would be
You'd have more titles for sure.
Yeah, we'd have like 20 of them. But but that's the thing is like it's just
you expand
really
the playoffs, you expand the variance. Like there's going to be a lot more randomness.
Exactly. Which makes it great for any fan to feel like, you know what, we just need to make the playoffs and we're in the mix, and because you can beat a juggernaut like the Phillies. Like I feel bad for the Phillies. You know how many all-stars were on that team last year? Oh my God. Like, their pitching rotation was the all-star rotation. Like that was the all-star starting pitchers were like literally all Phillies pitchers. It was insane. They had 2 relievers too. It was just crazy. I think Hoffman made it and they had Estevez, I think, right? So like just crazy. And so I'm telling you guys, baseball is not ruined. This isn't ruining baseball. It creates a villain that you want to destroy, which is great, but it's not ruining baseball.
Yeah, I agree. It's not ruining baseball. I don't think the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I think the Dodgers are showing the cracks in the baseball system, what we were talking about earlier. Like they're doing like they're playing within the rules and they are trying as hard as they can, and that's more than a lot of the teams are doing, especially the big teams that we've talked about. And yeah, I understand why it's super annoying, and I understand why everyone hates us. But yeah, like I don't think they're ruining baseball. I think they're just showing the places where baseball has like where the system is sort of already broken.
I'll just say also, what's it called? Like, I feel like it's a lot of teams outside the NL West that are complaining the most, in the sense that like I'd already resigned myself that we weren't winning the division anyway. So we get out of the wild card run, and if we get into the divisional round, that's only a best of 5.
Yeah.
We have Burns and Zach Allen on the bump. Like I don't really find it too crazy to think we could pull off an upset against anyone in a best of 5, and we'd probably be playing the Dodgers. So, kind of just knowing that that's like the likely second round matchup if we get out of the wild card kind of doesn't really feel too bad, in the sense I feel like it's the other teams that feel like they should be at the top that's kind of annoying. But I think from a Diamondbacks, like just from a super smart market perspective, it's like, well, we weren't going to win the division anyway. And like we were going to run into a loaded Phillies, Mets, or Dodgers team. The Dodgers are more loaded now, but honestly, if we're lucky enough to play them early, good. I just would rather play in a best of 5 than a best of 7.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's always been a little crazy to go from a 162 game season to a 5-game
it's
series.
such a dumb system.
It is crazy, but
yeah,
I mean that's sort of a natural counterbalance. Like anything can happen in a 5-game series, which
is hilarious. It's hilarious, and I hate it because it's probably lost us so many World Series, but that's how the game is played. And especially as Dodger fans, we understand better than anybody how to leave the playoffs early. Okay, like
absolutely.
I mean, like even 2023, like back to our run with you guys, like I mean, I think heading into that series, like I liked every single matchup that we had versus you guys in that series, like Gallen, Merrill Kelly, and then Fott versus with Kershaw.
Pitchers.
Who was it? Liam Hendricks, like who was even in pitching game 3. I mean, I wasn't really too put off with that. Like, and so similarly, I mean, you guys will have the advantage versus anyone that you play. I'm not going to try and pretend otherwise. And I think the big difference that like a lot of this stuff sets up is kind of what I was saying earlier is you can't buy yourself titles, but you can definitely buy the division. And like you guys are buying yourself tickets to the postseason. There's just too much. It would have to be apocalyptic level of like injuries,
right,
to like submarine your guys' season at this point. Like the Diamondbacks, like we're always just a couple of injuries away from our season just going absolutely nowhere and being ruined. You guys have a lot more room for variance there, and so everyone knows that you're going to be there. But like once you're in there, again, best of 5s are pretty random by in of itself. Like even these dominant Dodger regular seasons, I think last year you guys had the best record in baseball, and the Pirates won both series versus you guys last year, and the Pirates weren't very good.
Oh, they're
So,
smoking us, dude. It was
Yeah.
rough.
Weird things can happen.
Good.
Baseball's baseball.
Baseball is beautiful, man, and that's why we do it here, and that's why we're happy to do baseball coverage because it's just a great game. It's a beautiful game, and yeah, on any given day, any team has a chance, unless you roll out Bobby Miller and Lance Lynn, unironically, in a 3-game playoff series. Then
That was it. Not Liam Hendricks, Lance Lynn. Yeah,
Lance
He
Lynn,
should-
Bobby Miller. and
Lance
Clayton
Lynn was your best
Kershaw.
pitcher.
We
in that
yeah, the
series.
fact that
Yeah.
we had to lean so much on Lance Lynn, not just in that playoff series, but that whole last
That whole
month
season,
and a half
like the
of the
stretch
season,
run, yeah.
that was rough. Yeah.
That was rough.
I was watching that game 1 with my cousin out in Santa Monica, and yeah, he's from Scottsdale. So when we watched that, his fiance at the time, now wife, was just like, oh, how long do we have to watch this game? Because it just started, and then that first inning happened where Kershaw didn't even get through the first, and he's like, oh, that's probably good. I think I don't think you have to watch much more of this one. That was probably one of the greatest postseason innings, certainly the best the Diamondbacks have had in the Lovello era. That was great.
It's no fifth inning of Game 5 of the World Series, but then
Yeah,
That was. I still rewatch it like every night. It's like before I go to bed, I'm like, oh yeah. All right,
I have a
it's
sticker on
beautiful.
my art bin here with the score bug right before that started.
Dan got me a mug. Dan got me a mug that says top 5 on it. Like it had like the up.
I like
triangle and a
that.
5.
That's a good pun.
It's such a good. Oh man,
I'm shocked I haven't seen that. That's
Yeah,
good.
dude.
I like
it's
that.
beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just, baseball's a beautiful game. We'll be right back with matchups we're looking forward to and gratitude and rants. All right. And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us. We're hitting the home stretch here. We're coming round in third and coming home. It's time for matchup we're most looking forward to. I'll start to give you guys a little bit of time. So the matchup I'm most looking forward to is the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Washington Commanders. I'm so worried about Jaden Daniels, dude. It's not that kid is nice.
I've been telling you.
it's nice. That kid is nice. I watching it. I was like, this kid is nice.
Been
This is
telling
a
you
problem.
since before the season started.
But that Lions D is fraudulent. I'm saying it right now.
I'll just say also, to make you feel better, like this Commanders run defense is worse than the Rams, and we saw what Saquon just did to the Rams. Like Saquon is about to just make Giants fans absolutely sick, I think, this weekend. The only thing I will say though is that like if Jalen Hurts is still a little banged up like he was, I mean, how the Rams kind of got back into it was Jalen Hurts' inability to run. I think I also kind of ate into Saquon a little bit because I think kind of similar to how Derrick Henry eats so well when Baltimore is the fear of Lamar Jackson. Hurts definitely opens up things for Saquon. But if Hurts is mobile, the Commanders defense is going to be in a world of hurt. Hurts has not looked good this whole postseason, but if you guys run the ball the way you can, I don't think that potentially won't even matter.
Yeah, I do see a dominant finish where we like have the entire time position in the fourth quarter, just like have one of those like trademark Eagles like 9-minute drives to ice the game. Excuse me. Yeah, but I mean this kid, Dan.
Hey Daniels, I told y'all it was gonna be a lot closer versus the Lions than the line said, and look what happened. Yeah.
So I saw that this guy has been using a VR headset to like train himself. Like Jaden Daniels using a VR headset and apparently setting the game up to 1.75 speed.
Oh
so
wow.
that the game seems slower once he's actually on the field. I'm a little skeptical as to like how this actually works or whether or not it does work, but like kind of hard to argue with the results after what he did to the Lions. Like, all right, like how do we get one of these headsets on Caleb Williams and Jalen Hurts, man? Like that's what the hell? This guy's balling out of his mind.
Well,
so, yeah.
it's an equivalent experience, but I got a VR set during the pandemic and played a lot of VR mini golf. And the next time I played mini golf in real life, I was a lot better than it translated.
Nice.
Saw the angles a lot better. So basically the same as Jaden Daniels.
Okay,
So
there you go.
I see it translating.
So something I have a question for you. A lot it's relevant to this game is in 2025 so far. The Philadelphia Eagles have more wins in 2025 than the Philadelphia 76ers. The Sixers have a nice game this week against the Bulls that Saturday. Do the Eagles have more wins than the Eagles after this weekend? Do the Eagles have more wins than the Sixers after this weekend?
Jeez, that's a brutal stat, man. Like, oh my gosh.
They do also play the Nuggets and the Cavs. I'm just kind of writing those as L's before Sunday. So Saturday night, Sixers Bulls. That could be the decider whether you guys need to win to keep that streak alive. That's that alive.
God for the Eagles still being in the playoffs, because I'm pretty sure if they were not in the playoffs and the Sixers were playing like this, I'm pretty sure Philadelphia would go to flames. Like there would be riots. Yeah, I think the Eagles pull it out. This is, I mean, the Sixers have to win, right?
Sixers have to win, and the Eagles would have to lose. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't see that happening.
No.
I just don't see the first part of that proposition happening. Even if the Eagles game is 50-50, I don't see the Sixers winning any of these games. That team sucks, dude.
I mean, the Bulls are bad.
I know, but
Yeah,
like
you talk about bad vibes. That the vibes with that Sixers team.
the vibes on that Sixers team, I can smell it from over here, dude. Like it's bad. All right, like it's affecting the air quality. All right, like it's so bad. God, I should have known it was a tire fire when Embiid started like talking about taking games off and stuff, and I was just like, what's going on over there? And I was like, oh God, like whoa, oh man, yeah, no, they're Sixers are cooked. Like just stick a fork in them. Time to trust the process one more time. Like. Time to start the process over, guys.
Bring back Hinkie. Dig even deeper.
Hey, I want my Sam Hinkie pillow back from the office. I have a Sam Hinkie as a.
Oh, that was yours. Jesus. I remember that.
Yeah, that was my pillow.
Yeah. Classic. Those teams were fun.
Oh man, remember Michael Carter Williams, unironic NBA starter. This is crazy. Yeah. So that's my matchup looking forward to. Dan, what's your matchup looking forward to?
I am looking forward to the final series in the Dominican Winter League, which ironically I've had, fortuitously, I've had the two teams that made the finals caps here in my display for the last couple of months. The Tigres de Licey and the Leones de Escogido are both in the finals. Leones are managed by Albert Pujols and have like Junior Caminero and Gene Segura and Jose Siri, a bunch of recognized guys.
All players, yeah.
Yeah, but Licey is won last night the first game in 14 innings, and they're going for the three-peat. So they're Licey next year will probably have Juan Soto. Like they are they are the sort of the powerhouse. But they have what year was that Aristides Aquino hit a ton of home runs in like a month? I don't remember, like 2018. They have him, they have Harold Ramirez, they have they have a bunch of guys, but for whatever reason, the name recognition of the Leon is being overshadowed by just the overwhelming mass. They have Emilio Bonifacio and Fernando Mejia and just a bunch of solid players. And it'll be fun. It's all this week.
That's pretty
7-game series.
Gotta check out Winter Ball.
Yeah.
Shout out Winter Ball. And Aquino, it was 2019.
2019.
He was the most coveted player in fantasy baseball for like a week.
Yeah, I snagged him. I was lucky. That was a fun couple of weeks.
Murph, matchup you're most looking forward to?
So I mean, really, it's gonna be Bills Chiefs, just 'cause that's gonna be a banger. But I'm gonna get to that one a little bit later today. So I'm actually gonna talk about the one that goes out tomorrow. We actually have a very big Champions League match between Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City. Actually, this is a pretty big one. Even with the expansion, whoever loses this match is very likely not going to make it to the knockout rounds of the Champions League, which, considering now 24 of the 32 teams make it to the next round, this would be utterly humiliating to finish in the bottom 8, especially for teams with this payroll. I mean, I know these teams are also sponsored by countries, but this is something that literally could cause you to have to sell players off in the summer, level of financial ruin. So this is a pretty big match for both teams. Man City's off the schneid a little bit, but they've been up and down. They did put 6 past Ipswich, but they haven't been cruising to victories consistently as of late either.
Yeah,
PSG has been, yeah, exactly. And PSG has not been great. It's been absolutely great in the league, but it's just not shown up in the Champions League at all, which is just really shocking. Monaco had a big win over Aston Villa today. The rest of the French league performing extremely well. Lille gave Liverpool all they could handle. So all the other French teams are balling out except for PSG, the ones who are walking the league right now. It's kind of hilarious how the form is inverted for them when it matters. They've always kind of been chokers in this format. It will be just absolutely brutal for them if they take a loss here to Guardiola's City club. But this is going to be a tough game for both teams, and it could have pretty ruinous, consequences for either team. I mean, both these teams are also favorites to be in the top 8. Like, they're supposed to get in the buys. These are supposed to be semifinalist championship level teams, and we're talking about them going out before the round of 24. Like, this is kind of crazy.
I do love the new format, as I've said in the podcast before. It makes for a very fun, set of matchups. And we absolutely
exactly 11:30 tomorrow, so should be a good one.
Gratitude and rants, boys. Sorry, I can't watch soccer right now. I got a kid. All right, so gratitude and rants. Actually, Murph, go ahead and gratitude and rants. What do you got?
So my gratitude, actually, this is a really cool game I saw just a little bit ago, but I was watching DePaul Georgetown, and DePaul ended up holding on to the win, and this snapped a 730-day conference losing streak for DePaul. Of course, long conference losing streaks always tug at my heart. That's longer than anyone I personally have ever had. DePaul, that's just such a rough slide there. 39 straight games lost. They gave Villanova, I think, the game before, everything they could handle. They had a 3 that would have won it. They went 3/4 of the way down for lifting out. They really looked snake bitten. I just wonder if this will be another tailspin season for poor DePaul, but they finally were able to get off of that. I wouldn't be surprised if they go on a little mini win here. Just the mental stress of finally getting a win after so many losses. But good for DePaul. It's been rough for DePaul basketball for the last 20-ish years, I feel. And it's good for them to maybe they can get some momentum here with the back half of conference play coming up, and see if they can get something going in the second half. Always, felt like DePaul is, the Caltech of the Big East when it comes to when it comes to basketball. So, very much feel aligned here.
Yeah, definitely. DePaul, the Caltech of the Big East.
Well, athletically,
I'm sure they'd be really happy to have that title, Murph, in any form or fashion.
Us to the SCIAC is like, DePaul to the Big East. And, it's nice to see them get a win. I like rooting for the Blue Deacons.
Oh, man. And then your rant.
So my rant is actually about refs continuing to call personal fouls on quarterbacks sliding egregiously late. Mahomes got one versus the Texans this past weekend. And this AFC Championship game is going to feature probably the 2 worst offenders of this. Josh Allen, who is absolutely dominated roughing the passer and unnecessary roughness calls of the last 5 years. Mahomes, anytime he needs it in a big spot, gets one. Agree with you. Remember that Monday Night Football game, Packers Chiefs, when he got hit 2 yards out of bounds, 2 yards inbound, and they called a late hit out of bounds to give the Chiefs 15 free yards and extend their drive in a comeback. Mahomes loves to tip down that sideline, and then he gets every benefit, it feels like, when he's on that line. The one against the Texans was just brutal. He was surrounded by 3 guys. Guy was already in the tackling for him when he starts going down, and he gets hit. Absolutely should never be called. Josh Allen obviously is one of the bigger floppers in the entire league for being such a bruising of a person. I'll actually shout out your boy, Jalen Hurts. There's the guy who, even before his knee injury in that Rams game, he was getting down very early, like defenders with that not within 3-4 yards of him. That is what sliding is supposed to be. You're giving up yards to protect yourself, to ensure you don't get hit. It's not about eking out every last little inch and then getting down at the last second to try and steal 15 free ones. I absolutely hate that Mahomes and Allen do this. I'm going to hate watch this game and just rage. But yeah, outside that, these 2 are 2 of the best to do it. But oh my, like the theatrics that these two do to try and like earn undeserved flags just drive me up a wall sometimes. And the quarterbacks abusing the protection rules is just feels sickening because they're put in there literally to protect the guys and to try and stop the hits. And these guys are literally daring, like using that like protection, weaponizing against the defenders. And I just absolutely loathe it.
Mahomes had a very clear flop this last week that was just so egregious. He didn't get the call on that one, which I was happy to see, but it was NBA like. It was very clear.
No, I mean, and yeah, Josh Allen does this too. Like both of them, they're trying to NBA-ify the NFL, and I just don't like it at all. And I kind of want both to absolutely, I would just love to see both of them just get lit up the next time they tip down that sideline and just take one right in the chest or whatever.
So here's the thing: it used to be the quarterback, if they wanted the extra last inch, every last inch, you dive forward. You go forward, you lead with your head, and you go down with the ship, so to speak. But the fact that you could actually get 15 yards, it's weird to watch these quarterbacks run down the sideline like they have some sort of force field around them. It's like the players kind of know, like, okay, I gotta like kind of manage how I do this now. But I'm also like giving up yards, and that's the first down marker right there. And so it's pretty disturbing to watch. It sucks, and Merv, I'm with you 100%.
I mean, because you just even think about it, like they're coming down the field like this. The defenders are coming out like this direction. They know they can't go through the quarterback because if they make contact even in bounds and continue through, like your momentum would take you, you're going to get flagged. And then these quarterbacks now, like Josh Allen, like he's a big dude. He's bigger than all the DBs he's going against. Like he's linebacker size. And so like they have to kind of let up, and then he lowers his shoulder. And then these guys a lot of times have the audacity to talk shit after they flat back someone who's letting up, because they know they have this little protective bubble. It honestly, the perversion of this drives me insane. I honestly wish that the NFL would even just flag some of these guys for unsportsmanlike conduct, because that's what it really feels like to me.
There was such an uproar over the fake slide Kenny Pickett did a couple years ago, and this is arguably worse, like because this is much more constant of a thing, especially with these big teams.
It's the same guys year after year doing it every single time. I'm just shocked at the end. Well, I mean, I guess I'm not too shocked because they are the big guys, but like, it's irritating that this hasn't been addressed yet.
Allen, Mahomes, and Jackson, but not even Jackson. Jackson actually like generally earns the stripes.
Yeah, Jackson doesn't really get down. I think that's more of a bigger issue. I think he takes more hits than he should.
Yeah. But he also like scores, like he's also like not running for first down. He's running for touchdown, like he's got that speed. So,
I mean, he's been doing better about the last couple of years, but like these guys, like they have to know, like, dude, your whole reputation is made in the playoffs. Like you don't need to eke out an extra 2 feet in the regular season, dude. Just get down, get out of bounds. Like you got the first, like, come on. I'm always surprised at how many hits some of these guys are willing to take.
That's a lot of force field, Colin. Come on. Yeah, no, I agree. This is disgusting and repugnant, and I'm gonna hate watch that game as well because it is the two worst offenders right there, and it's of course it's the white guy and freaking Pat Mahomes. Right? Sorry, what do you want me to say, man?
It sounded a little racist, if I'm being honest.
It's not racist at all.
Just being honest here.
No love for Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. No, you guys have to figure it out. Well, and Jalen, to his credit, does slide the right way. He slides like, yeah, I'm giving up.
He slides very early.
Yeah.
Of all the quarterbacks, I feel like he's definitely one of the better ones in regards to using the rules appropriately. Is how I would probably phrase it.
The game honors you, okay? The game honors you. The football gods are pleased, okay? And that's why Jaden Daniels is screwed. Dan, gratitude rants.
I'm most grateful for Arsenal beating Tottenham. We've beaten them 3 times in a row now. First time since 1989. This was an especially delicious one coming from behind. It was a good game. I'm happy about it. As long as we keep winning those games, it lessens the sting of how the rest of the season is going. I also want to shout out that there's Paul Skeens card that we had talked about before in the pod getting found. I'm happy I'm grateful that that's back in the news. The Pirates, I think an 11-year-old boy from California found it. So the the Pirates tweeted at him saying that the offer was still on the table, but I think the Pirate season tickets are less appealing to that kid, and hopefully he'll get the proper monetary value for that card. And the Pirates don't deserve that win based on how shitty they've been and the owner and all in relation to what we've been talking about before. Like, yeah. So
what the
good
hell
for that
is
kid.
an 11-year-old kid in Los Angeles going to do with 30 years with the Pittsburgh Pirates tickets? Like, wipe his ass? Like, what are you going to... The hell? You're in Dodger Town. Like, you watch actual baseball, not that crap. Like, oh, my Lord.
He might be tempted by the game with Livy Dunn, though. That
Oh, yeah, that's true. He is 11.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
My rant, my original rant was actually Tom Ricketts, but I used that in the previous conversation. So the replacement rant is that the game that I was so excited to see between the Thunder and the Cavs, the rematch, it was such a blowout that it was basically unwatchable after the second quarter. So yeah, that sucked. But apart from that, pretty good. Nothing much to rant about.
I feel like my entire podcast today was a rant about white ladies cutting you in line and, people complaining about the Dodgers spending. So I'll save the rant this year or this episode and I'll shelve it. I do have a gratitude, and it's for my Valentine, Jeff Stoutland, American football coach, who is the run game coordinator and offensive line coach for the Philadelphia Eagles. I don't know how we turned Cam Jurgens into one of the best centers in the NFL, but hell yeah. Like the magic this guy works. Like, he's like an offensive line whisperer. Now, in fairness, it's not like we gave him a bunch of humps. Okay, this guy's coached Jason Peters, Lane Johnson. Like, he's had his fair share of like some supremely talented dudes. But the magic this guy is working, like, Mekhi Becton was like a cast-off from the Jets. He was a first-round pick, was 6'7", and we are playing him at guard. It makes you're 6'7", and you're playing guard. The guy you're blocking is likely like 4 inches shorter than you at like least. Okay, like at least. Okay, like how do you block that? Like, what are you supposed to do? Like shove him down to the ground? Like, oh my gosh! And he's got him playing at a passable level. Mekhi Becton obviously not exactly like an all-pro guard. Okay, but like he is playing at a passable level. After being a cast-off from the Jets. All right. He turned Jordan Mailata, a former rugby player, into a premier offensive lineman. Like, this guy is a miracle worker. Landon Dickerson, Lane Johnson, the list goes on. Jeff Stoutland, will you be my Valentine? You have basically secured the trenches for the Eagles for the past decade plus, since 2012. He came over from Alabama. And, just want to say thank you, Jeff Stoutland. I am grateful for you, man, because I love watching this offensive line play. They are incredible, truly incredible.
All
Eagles
coaches getting love except for Sirianni. You have Big Dom with the win with the Packers
dude.
fans.
I can't do it.
Yeah,
So
now we have
Sirianni's still. I can't do it. I do have a rant. Real quick. Jared Verse. Shut the hell up, dog. Shut the hell up. I don't want to hear that. I'll see you next year, buddy. All right? You go have fun in Cancun, all right, dog?
Damn. We did get one out. We did get a rant out.
Couldn't actually not do a rant.
I can't let you just say that. Come on.
I did think of one more thing I'm thankful for. Thank God Notre Dame did not win the college football championship.
I was kind of bummed, man. I mean, it played out exactly like we said. Like,
No.
Ohio State just like, this is a boat race. Like, this is rough.
I mean, they came back all the way back.
Yeah.
That first and goal doesn't, flip, or, they make that field goal. All of a sudden that game's very, very interesting.
I mean, but kicking that field goal was such a like it was.
Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, that was silly. Come on. Like, even if you make it, it's still a 2-score game. But whatever.
That dude definitely went. Freeman definitely went to the Matt LaFleur, coaching camp of kicking field goals to make X score games still X score games.
Yeah. But at the same time, I was happy to see it because in no way do I want Notre Dame to win the championship.
I always told my wife, I wish that she would love me as much as Matt LaFleur loves kicking pointless field goals.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, real quick, before we go, last question. Worst drop. Aaron Judge in the 5th inning or Mandrews at the goal line for the 2-point?
Oof.
I think you got to go with Aaron Judge. Like that series could have been really spicy. They closed that one out. You're talking 3-2. The Dodgers pen, if I remember correctly, was pretty spent. I think the Yankees would have really liked their chance to get to a game 7. And all at that point, you're just talking about a championship. Andrews gets that 2-point conversion. The Bills, Josh Allen has a minute and a half to get in the field goal range. You probably still lose that game. Even if he doesn't, you're going to overtime, which is then a coin flip. So, like, the way I see it is even with that catch, even if that happens, you're still probably talking only about a 10% chance of winning that game. Maybe 15, depending on how much you count Josh Allen there. And then you still have to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. And then you still have to win another game to win the Super Bowl versus, Judge makes that catch. You're probably winning that game. Because that closes out the inning and you have a 5-run lead still or 4-run lead. So I think it's just tough not to say it's the Judge drop.
Yeah, I think the Judge drop happened in such a big spot that it and just was part of such a big collapse. It's hard not to say that. But at the same time, like the Judge drop was one in a series of plays that just continuously went wrong. Like it wasn't just that. This Andrews play was the play. Like if without that play, they lose. And after coming off the big fumble in the fourth quarter that he had, he has a big catch going for redemption, and then this happens. And so
He had a bad fourth quarter.
Yeah, that is very rough for Mark Andrews.
My guy is having a rough offseason for sure.
Yeah, but
last game.
yeah, I do feel bad for him, and I was pulling for the Ravens in that game, but whatever. Yeah, it's hard to top the Judge catch ultimately. Despite
Did you see the Marlon Humphrey quote after the game?
No.
I don't care if it's the Bills or the NFC. Someone's got to do something. We can't keep letting the Chiefs get away with it. He's like, call me a hater, but we can't keep letting the Chiefs do this.
Literally everyone I talk to is like anyone but the Chiefs.
I think the Taylor Swift thing, Mania, and all that, and the New Heights podcast, and we've heard a lot from these guys for a while, and so people are getting pretty tired. So I think it's high time. It could have been us if we just got a timely PI call, but
Sure.
So hopefully we do it this year.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, that's it for today's show. Thanks so much for joining us. It was a doozy. 2 hours, guys. 2 hours.
Again.
Jeez. Again.
I think it's becoming the standard.
We just miss each other too much, I'll be back next week, and then the week after that, I'm out of town, so we'll see if I can do it or not, but we'll see. But till then, tune in, and thanks for joining us. Go Birds. Oh, thanks, Dan. Sorry. I was supposed to thank somebody. Thank you to my co-host, Daniel Grievitz, Colin Murphy. Thank you to our viewers. We got comments today.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah. And go Birds.
Go Jaden Daniels, I guess. Everyone I
Go Ben Shelton. Chance to make the Aussie Open semis.
Shelton's
Hey, playing an unranked guy. He's a good chance to play Djokovic in the semis.
He's cooked.
Ben Shelton.
He's gonna be Djokovic. Come on.
USA. Ben Shelton, let's go.
Shelton's cooked. All right. See you guys later. Shelton's so fucked. Are you kidding me? Oh my lord.
Well, I think there's a very good chance he wins the match tonight.
The match tonight, yeah.
Yeah, now it gets him into the semis. That's a huge win for him. He's like 20 years old.
Yeah, saying go, you're rooting for him. It doesn't necessarily mean you think he's gonna win, but you're pulling for the guy.
Djokovic is gonna cook his ass.
Dude, legit though, that the other semi looks just nasty. That Aussie dude has just been rolling through guys, and Sinner's obviously the world number one.
Sinner's
nice. I think whoever wins between Djokovic and hopefully Shelton, I think they probably lose. Although, I mean, Joker did dispatch Alcaraz like a lot easier than I thought he would, and Alcaraz has kind of been good. Yeah.
No, that's an impressive win for sure. But
Joker's It's Ozzy. It's Joker. It's Joker season. You know what I mean? Like that's what he does. And it's like ever since he retired due to heat stroke that one year, he's like come back with a vengeance. I think it was his first major ever, and then he just like has like he's like running away with like most Aussie Open wins.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah, it's
I do
nuts.
think Sinner, like in the final, I think Sinner I would pick over Djokovic.
Oh really?
I would
This
take the
year?
Aussie over him too. The Aussie's been playing unbelievable. He's
Damn.
crushed everybody. Jaron and I stayed up because Jaron put a lot of money on Shelton to beat Gael Monfils. And then he had to furiously Google what are Vegas's rules when a player retires mid-game. Which apparently if they finish the first set, like you get the money, so he was happy about that. But
Nice.
we watched next up was the Aussie guy versus I think it was another American, and he just made the guy look like an absolute like clown. The guy couldn't get like just jammed constantly, couldn't even get like full hits in. It was one of the most overmatched things I think I've ever seen. And yeah,
Damn.
for that late in the tournament to like completely just make someone look like an amateur was one of the more impressive things I'd seen.
Yeah, he's the 8th seed. I hadn't heard about this guy.
This Sonego fella is actually pretty good because he's having a run.
Who?
Sonego, the guy that Shelton's playing today at 7:30.
Yeah.
He's actually been having a bit of a run. So,
But yeah, I really like Sinner. I think
I'm with you.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's just so good.
Yeah.
It's sort of hard to deny at this point. But yeah, it'll be fun.
Yeah, it's, at least I just like seeing Americans this far deep. It doesn't always happen.
It really
not,
doesn't.
not these days. Yeah.
Not in the last like
No.
3 decades. Yeah. It's been
But-
rough.
So yeah, I'm all in on Shelton at this point.
Hooray. Good luck, buddy.